And Bob was great. I mean, he ended up disliking me for a while, but we were best friends. We became really best friends. Very dear friend.
What was the evolution of the armchair made of arms? I love that touch.
They were prosthetic arms, and it was called the armchair. And Harry Knowles owns that chair.
Oh, that's it?
He does. Yeah.
Now, talking about the visual aesthetic of the film, the use of close-ups, just the way it's covered in general, films didn't have that kind of language for the most part, and certainly horror films never did. I know that you worked very closely with cinematographer Daniel Pearl, and you yourself operated for many of the close-ups. Do you want to discuss that a little bit?
Yeah,
the visual aesthetics.
When Leatherface cut Sally's finger, and we talked about this earlier, it actually does look like he cut her finger.
The story is that Marilyn Burns' finger might have actually been cut for real. Do you want to go into that? This is a good one.
Yeah. Well, I was at a screening of the film, and someone told me that Gunnar told the audience that he really cut Marilyn's finger. You know, I mean, there was a blood tube behind the razor or the knife, and the knife, and he was squeezing it. It was making a mess of it. It wasn't working, and so Marilyn told him that he said Marilyn told him to go ahead and cut her, and I said, you know, that can't be. That isn't true. You know, I mean, that, you know, not on my film. I mean, they don't really do that. And so later at another screening, I mean, months later, I think in Arrow in Santa Monica, and I mentioned that story that I told, and I said that can't be true, but I'll share this with you, and told the story, and someone in the audience said that Marilyn told him that was true, that, you know, that he did cut her finger, and now as I look at it, it doesn't look like a blood tube. It looks like what comes out, like the blood is welling up on her finger. So maybe it happened.
You want to talk a bit about?
Well, I was running the camera, so I mean that's the reason I don't know if it happened or not, because that was my last prosthetic face on old Grandpa.
Grandpa was 19, incidentally.
Yeah, little skinny guy, and someone who might live if they, you know, drop the chair down the stairs, you know. And so I operated the camera, but because I was a really good hand holder and macro focusing, and this is way before video assist. So I only had one shot at it, so I took the camera away from them and shot it myself to be sure that I would get it. Well, I pissed him off. But I didn't mean to. I mean, he's great. Daniel's very, very good. And but I had to know then and there if I got the shot. But it was a great collaboration with Daniel.
But you want to talk a little bit about how you found your cast? I mean, people like Jim Siedow, Gunnar Hansen, Ed Neal, Marilyn Burns, but really individualistic performance styles and just interesting personalities, to say the very least.
Well, I found Jim Siedow. I was in a film called The Wind Splitter, about bikers breaking up all film. And Jim Siedow played a clerk and a hardware. And I kept watching him, and he reminded me, he looked like a kind of perverted version of Bogart. And he's with a great Shakespearean theater with the Alley Theater in Houston, and a SAG actor and a professional, and you know, so you know, I mean, the guy did great King Lear, and he understood, you know, he understood what I was going for. You know, even the poking with a stick.
Do you want to, talking of poking actors with a stick, do you want to talk maybe then, not to get too sidetracked and to go back to the other cast members, but the general, the unconventional means of direction that you had to use to get the level of hysteria that you managed to capture for this film? For some of the subsequent ones.
I kept Franklin segregated from the rest of the cast. Encouraged him, asked him never to bathe through the shooting. Filthier and filthier. And so it was unpleasant to be around. I didn't let Leatherface get out of the trailer. So every time in the film you see a reaction of when they see him for the first time. They really see him for the first time. I'm shooting their close-up first, pre-staged it with stand-in, and then I'm on the subject that's going to be killed, and then Leatherface comes into the shot. You know, and you know, I had various ways of pitting them against one another and not like one another, and making him nervous. You know, I mean, I screamed my head off through making the film just to make everything uncomfortable as hell. and that was a kind of a tension. I mean, it caused a tension. But also, I mean, there was this thing a theory that I had about the American Indian war dance. That, you know, if you're spinning in some kind of dance for a long enough time, all the energy between the people, it starts becoming the same. It becomes compatible with this energy, and then something happens. And at some point, something clicks. And I mean, it's a theory, but if it worked or if it didn't work, it doesn't matter. I mean, I was screaming my head off and making everyone uptight anyway.
You only got to firing guns on the set later on. That wasn't on.
Later on.
I was saying that when you're working on studio films.
Yeah, that was on Funhouse when I walked onto the set and started shooting the gun. Just to let you know, I'm back.
Breaks over.
Yeah. And also, you know, kind of messes them up a little bit, which takes the acting out of it. You know, and it brings them down to, you know, you're not going to be a big actor. You're using a minimalist approach.
Yeah. Talking actor discomfort. There's a legend that towards the end of shooting, the farmhouse with all the meat crops began to really have an awful stench due to the humidity and the sun and all of this, and that actors actually had to run out to vomit between takes. Would you care to comment on that?
Yeah. Well, the 16 millimeter ASA rating on this ECO X-Film commercial.
This was negative, not reversal.
It was reversal.
It was reversal. Oh, I didn't know that.
And it was, I think, it had an ASA rating of about 40. This means you need a hell of a lot of light. And so these bones, all the bones were real. I mean, they were from, they were less expensive to get these skeletons from India.
And comical things. They were like sold for med schools, I take it.
Old med schools, and they were much less expensive to get real skeletons than plastic.
And real skeletons, though, with stench under heat? Because I would imagine they would have been acid washed.
Well, the bones started cooking under the lights. and started, you see smoke coming up out.
The bones were smoking. Love this.
Something about these skeletons, I mean, it was really weird. You could buy a grown, how should I say this, a skeleton from an adult with perfect teeth. That cost a little bit more. But how do you break it?
Echoing Return of the Living Dead right now.
I mean, there's skeleton farms.
Right.
How the hell does that go on? But anyway, all that stuff was real. I mean, the armadillo on the table started cooking. That chicken head work of art. Now that was not the same chicken that was in the cake. But that thing, if you picked it up, its feet would go like this. You know, I mean, it was still ripe. And so it was cooking. And so it was a 27-hour shoot day. So it was like 117 degrees at least in the house, on top of the lighting.
What scene was it? What scenes, I should say plural, did you shoot?
The
27-hour day. The dinner scene.
And I had to shoot Sita Odd. He was a SAG actor. And that was my last day with him. And it was my last prosthetic for old Grandpa. And so I had to shoot night for day. So I had to tint the house, which made it even much hotter. So it would appear to be, nighttime and daytime. And I'll back cut for just a moment. In the beginning of that day, I wanted to show some stuffed domestic animals I thought would be appropriate. And so I asked Bob Burns if he could arrange that somehow. And he said he couldn't, that he'd been looking at, he could find birds, but couldn't find cats.